What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to Park Lane Podcast, episode number 79, where Spurs are back in the top four. What a time to be alive, people. But we're not only live, on Park Lane Podcast, but we are also live on Spurs Kings TV. So shout out to everybody tuning in from there. If you're tuning in on Twitch, if you're tuning in on YouTube, if you're on Spurs Kings TV, wherever you are, get in the comments. Get your comments in. Let us know where you are, who you are. It's a safe space for everyone to join in and say whatever you like. So let's get into it, people, and let's introduce who we've got about with us today, because we do have a late joiner who I'm going to make speak first. Callum is here. Callum, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you guys doing?
All good.
I'm good, mate. That's one hell of a microphone you've got on there. It's crystal clear. Love to hear it.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, it's better than it janking out as usual, mate. So it's at least a result for once.
No, good to see you, mate. And Big Dave is back in the house. Dave, how you doing?
I'm all good, mate. I'm doing good. Good to be back.
Good, mate. It's really good to have you back. And I only call you Big Dave because on our FIFA streams, I don't know if you've ever seen, but Winnie named your player in our squad Big Dave. And
all my mates used to call me Big Dave. That's literally what I used to be called, Big Dave. So must be something in the air, mate.
When he pops up with a little header at the back post, you know.
He's enjoyed him, mate. I haven't had a chance yet.
I think usually loan sharks have a Big Dave, don't they? They usually send a Big Dave round to collect afterwards.
Bailiffs.
Yeah. One of the two. One's legal, one's not.
And Harry, how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Nice to be back and talking about wins, so I can't complain.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Quickly, before we get into it, we do have to shout out to our channel sponsor, and that is Manscaped. So if you are new or you've never heard of Manscaped before, head over to manscaped.com. Check out all of their products. They're a male grooming brand who are huge across the globe, selling products to millions of people. They were lucky. I was lucky enough for them to send me some stuff over, and the intimate shavers and nose hair trimmers, etc. They sent me absolutely first class, and you never have to worry about catching you-know-whats ever again. So yeah, if you are interested, head over to manscaped.com and use the code ParkLane20. That's ParkLane20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Anyway, we've got all of that out of the way. Let's shout out some people in the chat because there's a lot of you there.
I'm just going to drop out, Luke, just to sort my mic out and my headset out. I can barely hear you. Just give me 2 seconds, all right?
Yeah, no problem. Barney has said, evening, guys. Evening, Jay. Big up to the chat. Jay Bassett has said, evening. And he said, my prediction was 3-1, and I got it.
Nice.
Coy's what a win. Johnny is in the chat as well. Who else is in the chat today? There's a lot of them talking to each other. 2 seconds. Holly Agambar is in saying, Daddy Longlegs was the whiz bomber. And Winnie is in the chat saying, Coy's big up to everybody that's there. And let us know where you are from. Right. For some reason, Callum's also back. I'm not sure where you went, but you're back.
God knows, to be honest, mate.
Anyway, let's get into it and let's start chatting to begin with about the West Ham game, because let's not forget there were 2 games this week, and we need to talk about that one first. So, an easy 1-1 draw against West Ham, away to West Ham. Now, Callum, before the game, if someone gave you a draw, you'd probably take that, right, against West Ham prior to the game?
Theoretically, yeah. I would have taken it most other seasons, but because of how dysfunctional we have been, I thought that was a good chance to prove ourselves. But yeah, it was a very bugged out game, to say the least, mate. And seeing the team that was stated is pretty much the same as today, apart from Sarr coming in for Bentancur. So you would have hoped with a team of that quality they could have done something against West Ham. And to be honest, I think Moyes summed it up quite well straight after the game, where he said, everyone knows how Tottenham plays now. Everyone has sussed it out. You sit back, you do a load of rubbish, and then hope for the best.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And Harry, coming to you on that one, actually, the lineup for the West Ham game was, pretty good. We saw a couple of changes. It was Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bissouma, Bentancur, Maddison, Werner, Son, and Johnson. And we started the game well against West Ham, didn't we? We started well. 5 minutes in, we went 1-0 up.
We did, and that's obviously, we'll get onto the frustrating thing. We started really well, and I think that overall on the pitch, we have the quality to beat West Ham. You only have to look at them defensively this season, the goals they've conceded, the amount in some games, like against Arsenal, for example, and the manner that they lose games. Look at Newcastle, the West Ham of last season in the relegation battle would have seen that out and got all 3 points, but they end up losing it. So defensively, they're vulnerable. I don't think overall in the game we exploited that enough, tested them enough, but it was certainly a good start to the game.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, that's the thing about Spurs, isn't it? Is like at the start of the season, we were shouting at our players for not starting fast enough. And now we're starting fast, but we don't seem to be able to continue at that speed, or we seem to drop off, or something happens. What is that all about? Because going back to West Ham, as I said, 1-0 up after 5 minutes, and we could have been probably 3-0 up by the time that West Ham got their leveler.
I find it really annoying, mate. It actually drives me insane a little bit because we do start fast now. We do get going pretty quickly, but it's really weird. It's like we take the handbrake off for the first 10 minutes and then put the handbrake back on. So I can't explain it. I said today it drives me insane. Defensively, we are a mess, and corners are always worrying anyway. You know what I feel about Tottenham and corners. Every time the opposition has a corner, I feel like they're going to score.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And we'll get onto that shortly about our defending from corners, because Callum, one of the things I heard actually last weekend, I think it was, when I was listening to the radio driving about, and they were saying that they were talking about basically all the different teams that have set piece coaches, and then they say Spurs don't have a dedicated set piece coach as such, and that Ange doesn't believe in it or some nonsense like that, right? Yet when we were running down Antonio Conte, that's the one thing that we definitely had, right? Was that set piece coach who had this ginormous book of all these set pieces. Surely you'd think that they'd remember some of them or something, right? Because do you think it's essential now in modern football to have somebody who's solely a set piece coach?
I think it's quite a controversial argument when you think about it, because when we had Conte, we had Giovanni Vio. He's now sitting down at Watford. Not that it's doing them much good, because Watford just can't find their arse out of a plastic bag, let's put it that way. But the whole point now is having these set piece coaches. They do focus on the actual technique of them, the attacking aspects and the defending aspects. So I think it's definitely a necessity. And there's been two different points this season where Ange has spoken about who manages set pieces. First, it was Jedinak at the start of the season. Now it seems to be Ryan Mason. And if I'm not mistaken, but neither of them were really taken any set pieces during their career. I know Jedinak did a little bit, but they're not, say, specialists. So I think we're definitely missing a touch there with it, because even Brentford has one, Aston Villa has one. A lot of top six clubs don't really, but you would hope they've got enough in their coaching locker to do it. But a lot of the lower clubs around the top 10 and mid-table do have them. So it does prove that we can do it. And like you said, to forget all of that quite quickly was astronomical. But if you remember, the amount of goals that were scored from set pieces was scored by people like Dyer and people like that. The big, tall, huge defenders we had last year. I mean, Sanchez even got a few last year from set pieces. There was Kane as well. Kane scored a lot more set piece goals than he did in any other season last year, I believe. So it does pay off, but I don't think I've seen properly us use a set piece for about 6 months. Let's put it that way. And they should have remembered it 6 months ago. So to lose it since then is quite drastic. And we can't defend set pieces to save our lives, as proven. We got it down, not even by Zuma's head, not even by his shoulder. It came off the upper part of his arse, if you see some of the shots. So we literally got arsed. That's how bad it is, mate. So we need to do something about it. And we've all said it over the last couple of weeks. We concede too many set pieces, and it just doesn't help us at all.
We can see too many goals all in, to be honest, not just set pieces.
I mean, what did I text you earlier, Dave? It was like two clean sheets in about 21 games, something like that. It's ridiculous. We haven't kept a clean sheet in 15 games at home this year. Do you remember when we had the fortress at White Hart Lane? Our whole thing was about defending well at home. I understand Angie's system is going to leak goals, but Jesus Christ, we've conceded more goals than I think under Conte this year, or we're getting close to it. Let's put it that way. It's bad.
Yeah, but we're scoring a fucking hell of a lot more, mate. And that's really all that matters, isn't it? At the end of the day, I know that sounds ridiculous, but
if you think about it, that's how Liverpool used to be. They used to outscore more than they conceded. Then they got Van Dijk, and it solidified them. And Klopp's style, I would say, is progressively better at this stage of the game than Angie's, because Angie's only had 9 months with us or something like that. But I would hope that we do be able to defend better, because we can't keep having games where we're having to outscore even lower opposition teams, because they're the ones that are always going to not give you the space that you need, and that's the problem. We're conceding too much.
You look at Van der Ven and Romero, in essence, they're better centre halves than Sanchez and Dyer. I know we're playing a new system where the fullbacks are inverted and they go forward and etc. But I don't understand how we leak so many goals. It's like I get the fullbacks move forward, but then surely there should be a system in place where if the fullbacks are in that attacking third, they have cover defenders. It baffles me sometimes. Some of the chances we give away, and last time I was on, I said on this show, I said I feel like we've got a hammering coming. Someone's going to come along and hammer us, and then what happened? Fulham came along and hammer us. Now, I'm nervous because our next 4 games are Newcastle, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, something like that.
Yeah, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, because the Man City game's still postponed at the moment with no date announced yet.
That's what I mean. You're coming and and I hate to talk about Arsenal like it, but they're scoring a hell of a lot of goals. They're ripping teams apart for fun. Now, we can score a lot of goals too, but they're solid at the back. They are absolutely solid. I think they kept clean sheets the last 5 home games or something like that, and they look solid. So, are we going to score more than them in the game? It's all well and good saying that we outscore teams. But when you come up against these teams that are solid at the back, your City, your Arsenal, etc. I'm not going to include Liverpool in that because they're leaking goals for fun as well. But are we going to have enough to be able to outscore them?
Yeah, it's difficult because I completely agree with you, Dave, because what happens is, and I wasn't exactly going to talk about this right now, but I'll talk about Nottingham Forest goal today, because what happens there, and similar to the goal against Luton that we conceded as well, where Destiny Doggy is caught too high up the pitch, and he just doesn't track back, and it's all good and well to be this cool inverted fullback, whatever you want to call it. But if you're not going to do your job, which is part of it, which is being a fullback and defending, you're screwed. Because at the end of the day, what has to happen then is Bissouma ends up coming in and stepping into his place. And he's not asked either, in my opinion, about, he doesn't probably really doesn't want to cover somebody and come in and do that, which is not his job. While, Destiny just gets to, flounce about out of the pitch somewhere. And then neither people are defending. So that's what should happen, is that when one player goes forward, somebody else should cut in. But actually, pretty much everyone's bombing forward. And if you have both fullbacks going forward and only one Bissouma sitting back, you can't have, do you know what I mean? Who's going to cover both sides? It's just mental. And so something has to happen. I think I said it maybe last week where we talked about one of them going forward at a time. Do you know what I mean? Rather than both of them always being inverted and always going forward, why doesn't one of them go forward? So let's say Pedro Porro goes forward. What happens then is they all just step across and create a back 3. And then, therefore, you've got a lot more cover when it comes to, teams on the counter-attack. I don't know what to do. But you are right. I was kind of taking the piss a little bit where I said, if we score more than the other person, then, we win the game. But as you say, against teams like Arsenal coming up, Liverpool, I'm concerned as well. And I rarely get concerned over, who we play. And so it's going to be interesting how we kind of deal with that. And we can't just be like, oh, yeah, we'll deal with it in the summer with signings, because that might not happen either. But quickly, Harry, I want to go back to you and talk about Timo Werner, because I want to talk about his input into the first goal against West Ham. So one of the things that Ange Postecoglou said was that, while everybody else was away on international duty, he was there training hard and getting ready to be able to fit in, basically. And that's what made him decide to put him in. So Johnson went over on the right, Timo Werner came in on the left, and they both combined with a Timo Werner cross. And it was nice to see. But what would you make of him? Overall, like we've had lots of conversations about this, but there's a specific reason I want to talk about it.
I think he's had an instant impact. Honestly, if we're basing it off since he's come in January, for me, he's been one of our best players. Up there with probably Brandon Johnson, and people don't like to say it in terms of January this year, in terms of instant impact in the team, coming in, maybe not always getting the goals, but the assists. Also seen a couple of goals to his name as well now. The West Ham, very, very key, causes defenders problems. And, we're seeing, like, there's a stat today, again, we'll get onto it at Forest game now. We forced the most own goals out of anyone in the league. I think it's 5 now. That has come, all majority of them, if not all, since Timo Werner's come to the club. When he puts the cross in, it makes people panic. So Werner causes problems. And for me, his experience, his versatility, even as an option off the bench, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. In the summer, and I think a chance that not many teams would turn down. Even of course, I think there is better out there. But for me, Werner, even as an option to come off the bench to impact a game, when you need a goal, defenders are tiring. Like we've seen examples of it. Let's use Sheffield United at the start of the season. We could have got the job done earlier with someone like Werner coming off the bench, tiring at Sheffield United. Because that's played again, then maybe Sheffield United hold on, for example. So a player like Werner, for me, is very, very key. I think he's been very good. Can he be better with shooting and taking these chances at 1-1 with the goalkeeper? Absolutely. I think that could be worked on. He could work with Son, for me, which is, apart from Harry Kane, the best one-on-one finisher at the moment that you'll find in the Premier League, maybe even Europe. I will go that far to say that. So Werner, for me, has impressed me since he's come to Spurs. And I just don't get the hate or hesitation around him. I really don't.
Yeah, so and I'll come round and speak about this because it was basically the reason why I asked Harry is because I put a tweet out quite
absolute rubbish
after the West Ham game, where I basically said that I've come to the decision now where I'm not. I think that there's no need for us to keep Timo Werner. I think that he offers a lot. I think he offers a nice amount of pace. He's good on the ball, but there's that part of his game that I don't like, which is his unwillingness to gamble at the far post, his unwillingness to gamble in the box and try and get stuck in. Pulls out 50-50s quite a lot. And again, as you mentioned about his finishing, I just think, yes, 15 million quid is a low amount of money or whatever exact figure it is. But for me, like if we have aspirations, everybody on social media is saying we need to be winning trophies. You can't just be happy with a new stadium. You can't just be happy with this, right? So I'm now trying to buy into that and saying, okay, well, if we need that, we need top quality players that can win us things and that can step in and make the most out of a situation. I think Timo Werner is a good player. I think that he's a versatile player that can play well as a substitute, sometimes as starting a game like he did today. But he's not a player that's going to win us anything. And that's just the bottom line. So I kind of wanted to know, Dave, to come to you first, what your thoughts are on that and Timo Werner in general.
I do think he's been very good, actually, since he's been at the club. But I'm in the same camp as you, Luke. And I don't 15 million quid in football terms is not a lot of money. But in my opinion, if you do want to go to that next level, you do want to progress, you keep the Werner money, you keep the wages, and you invest it in someone better, like Alexander Isak, for example, or someone along those sort of lines who can do the same sort of thing as Werner, but he's more critical in front of goal. I think Werner's provided a lot in terms of today. I thought he was excellent. He's getting in, whipping them balls across. It was great. I do feel a bit sorry for him though because he's not Harry Kane, and I think the next striker to come in after Kane left was always going to be the stopgap, if that makes sense. And I think that's pretty much what Werner is. He's a stopgap player. He'll come in, he'll do a job until the end of the season. Realistically, we've got players that can do the job that he does. We've got Brendan Johnson who can do the same sort of thing. In my opinion, you keep that Werner money, you keep the money you spend on wages and the 15 million quid, you reinvest that, you go out and get someone like Alexander Isak, you go and get someone of that ilk who can do what Werner does, but also finish and hopefully take us on to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. Callum, do you echo that in terms of Timo Werner, or do you agree with Callum that actually 50 million quid's cheap and we should spend the money on him?
Well, I agree with myself, do I, mate? Do I agree with myself?
Sorry, Harry.
I'm a little bit in both mind with this because I appreciate like what H is saying. 15 million quid, it's quite a cheap option for a squad player. For me, age isn't on his side with Ange's sort of style. He's 28, I believe now, 29 next year. So you've got two older guard forwards in him and Son playing up there. But I feel there are a number of players that are like Werner in the squad who are in the same sort of predicament. I think there's people who can do a job, but echoing like what Dave said, will they take us to the next level, what we want? And that's the difficult part of it, because I think that Richarlison, Timo Werner, Kulusevski, Gio, Solomon, Perisic, theoretically, when he was still our player, you had like 6 people there who are the same sort of producing figures with that sort of thing. They're never going to be, and it's wrong for anyone to compare them to Kane, because you can't compare anyone to Kane, even Son. Then, even though they're in the same ballpark, they're not the same type of player. They're different. So it's unfair to say that about any of them. But I think that if you have someone like Werner in the squad to spread the goals around, I believe that's what Ange wants. He doesn't want the focal point to be one person only in his squad. He wants a squad of players who can compete. The problem is that, and I think Ange said it in his press conference this year, he doesn't want people just to come to Spurs because they're playing in the Champions League. He wants people to come to Spurs because they want to win stuff with Spurs. And I think that's the sort of mentality that Werner has, that he wants to be part of a team, not be an individual man. And a lot of Spurs fans are going to want that one person we can rely on. Them days are gone for us now. And I hate to say it because obviously I loved Kane. I grew up watching him, everything like that. But them days are gone. You've got to have these squad of players who can do it. And for 15 million as a squad option, yeah, you could say that you'd do it, but then you could theoretically go and buy someone like Jonathan Rowe from Norwich, who's having a great season, for 20 million, just say, and it'd be the same sort of player. So it is really difficult. And if you do allocate 15 million, does that take it out of the budget for another player? Like Dave said, for an Isak, do you have it as just bumper money for your wages? But the financial figures the club produced this week are bollocks anyway, so it doesn't really help our argument one way or another. Revenue, massive turnover profits, or massive turnover increase, astronomical losses. So, and yet Daniel Levy's still got his 3 million bumper payment, so it's all right.
Yeah. One of the things to talk about, actually, I know you've mentioned Isak a couple of times, but there was something else I said to somebody on Twitter this week as well. I think that's something to think about, right? If you go out and you buy an Isak, he's not going to play on the wing. He'll play through the middle, and then you've got Heung-min Son who can play on that side instead of Timo Werner. When Timo Werner then wouldn't even get anywhere near the starting lineup if Heung-min Son's played on the left. And you go out. What do you reckon? I'm plucking figures out of the sky, but 60 mil, 70 mil, you'd probably get Isak from Newcastle from because they need the cash.
Nah. No, yeah. 80 or 90. They spent
really
60 on him already, I'd say. I mean, when you look at a similar player to him, similar sort of age, Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon, he's got 100 million price tag. Literally, you're throwing the same sort of player together, them two together, yeah, you're looking at 100 million, probably around the ballpark that Newcastle would want. They're more likely to bin off what's his name? Almiron or is it Guimaraes or something like Bruno Guimaraes?
Yeah, Guimaraes.
Yeah, they're more likely to bin them off because they're quicker cash and all that. I think Isak is through and through the Newcastle front man. They're not going to get rid of him.
I'd be surprised. I think. Sorry, Dave, you were trying to speak, but you were a bit quiet in your end, so we didn't really get to hear you. But so I'll ask you quickly. I think the figure that I've mentioned is realistic, but I understand what you're saying, Callum. But because Newcastle need the cash, depends what they do on FFP. Because if they do turn this all around and say actually it doesn't matter anymore how much you spend,
when they do it by revenues, yeah, that's the thing. You're going to be allowed to spend a certain amount on your transfers anyway. It won't matter because they're going to have all the Champions League money they got even by getting into the group stages this year.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to actually answer this quickly from Johnny because he said, and it's interesting, I think. He said, quick question. Who's better, Timo Werner or Darwin Núñez? He basically says Darwin Núñez is trash. But Harry, who's better?
Well, listen, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for experience, which I think this Spurs team needs at this moment in time, a very young team, very good team, but lacks experience to me. That's why I'm very keen to get Højbjerg in and around the team. The one's for you, Dave. Werner does offer you that. But listen, Darwin Núñez, in terms of all-round play, you park his finishing, his one-on-one finishing to a side. For me, his all-round play is significantly greater. But in terms of we're looking like value for money, etc., then from club's point of view, in terms of to save money, Werner would be the right option. Can play in more positions than Núñez can. So at this moment in time, I think Werner would suit Tottenham better. But overall package, you'd have to go with Darwin Núñez.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with that. Big Age is spot on there, to be honest. I mean, I don't hate Núñez as much as Liverpool fans, which is weird.
No, I don't either.
I don't think he's that bad. I think he's a young player coming to a new league, settling in, adjusting, getting used to his new team. I just think give him a bit of time. He is young, he is a new league, and go from there. But in my opinion, for what Tottenham need, we need a Darwin Núñez. We need an out-and-out striker, in my opinion, because. As much as we love Sonny, I don't think he's been that great since he came back from the Asian Games. Yeah, he scored a few goals, but he's not really been all that. We are missing a Harry Kane.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what else? The thing we need is we need somebody strong and tall. And talking about the likes of Isak, Núñez. Obviously, someone like Núñez we're not going to get, but I mean that type of player. That, and I don't want to keep saying similar to Harry Kane, right? But that's essentially what it is. Someone that's strong. At least 6 foot tall, I would imagine, and someone that can link up because we've got fast wingers. We then don't need necessarily a fast, front man as well because the likes of Son, Johnson, even potential, Timo Werner can run in behind as well. But Callum, Darwin Núñez or Timo Werner?
Oh God. Well, I agree with Johnny's comment that Liverpool pretty much did get rinsed on the price tag by Benfica when they did get him. But no, I'm kind of like Dave. I don't hate Núñez as much as Liverpool fans do either. I think he's got some qualities. He gets good figures. He's actually he can hold up the ball quite well. He works well with Jota and Salah and people like that. So yeah, I think I'd probably take Núñez definitely if I could, because I think, like H said, 15 million Werner is just a cheap option, and it's definitely a Daniel Levy. That's rub. It's literally a Levy signing, rubbing his hands together. Don't get me wrong. I think Ange likes Werner. That's why he keeps playing him like more than say Danjuma last year for Conte. But I think Levy's rubbing his hands all the way to the bloody bank.
I think this will be a clear signal. I think if we sign Timo Werner, then we know that it's a chairman signing, in my opinion, because it makes sense financially. If we don't sign Timo Werner, you know that Ange is actually getting away in what to do, because as you say, it is exactly perfect to be in a Daniel Levy signing, like 100% written all over. Like everybody knows if that deal goes through, as you say, Daniel Levy is going, got an absolute bargain here. I can't believe what a good deal I've done for myself. And, we just know that that's not.
Someone else, isn't he? That's what it is.
Yeah.
We signed Werner. I don't need to sign anyone else.
That's the thing. Going on the back of what you said as well, Dave, it's quite interesting because usually around this sort of time you start seeing the transfer links and different bits like that. All the players that are being linked are either a left-sided centre-back as backup for Van der Ven or that number 6 role. There's no talk of strikers, of number 10s, number 9s, or your sort of pacey wingers. The only name that I've seen is Williams from, I think it's Bilbao, and literally that's something that's just Spanish media because he's got 100 million price tag. Levy's not going to do that. Andrew's already said he wants 250 million players rather than 100 million. So
you tried to rob him off me when we were playing Football Manager the other day, didn't you, Callum?
I've tried to speak every
player. Well, I did the best of both worlds. If I had 250 million players,
I just deliberately did it to fuck you up, Luke. I just did it deliberately. I just kept looking at the media, just going, yeah, I'll buy this player. Nope, just whack his price tag up. What was it? Made you pay nearly 90 million for Jonathan David when you had a 30 million bid accepted. It's brilliant.
Anyway, what were you saying, Dave? Sorry.
I was going to say, if they're saying about Ange one of 250 million players, does he, if it's on the forward line, then do both. Get Werner and get Isak or someone like that, or Jonathan David, for example. Because you're going to spend 70 million on Isak, 80 million on Isak, 15 million on Werner. Technically, you've got 85 million in the kitty, but all this rubbish about a number 6, today proved that, we do need another one. I'll be honest. Basuma's looked horrendous in the last 4 weeks. I don't know what's going on with him. Even Højbjerg came on at a better game than Basuma. But
Clip that.
Yeah.
I hate this time of year because I hate the transfer window. It's when Daniel Levy does my head in the most, and that's when I become very opinionated. We all know that.
Yeah. Do you know what? We'll go on to talk about today's game actually after we've gone through the score predictions from the West Ham game. We've kind of gone on to a tangent today, but just keep everyone up to date, keep this fun game going. For the West Ham game, I went for 3-1 Spurs. Winnie went for a 2-2 draw. Dave went for a 2-1 Spurs win, same as Callum, and Harry went for a 2-1 West Ham win. The Judas. And the only person to get any points was Winnie, who got 1 point. And that did this to the table, kept me on 29 points. Winnie went up to 24, Harry on 19, Dave on 18, Callum on 16. And when it's a double game week, it means that there's a lot to play for, especially in terms of points. So let's move on to today's game against Nottingham Forest. Ange Postecoglou decided to change one position in midfield, and that was to bring Sarr in, which kind of made sense. Usually, he likes to play with Sarr. I would love to see one day him play Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison, because I think currently that's probably our best midfield three. But then, as Dave said earlier, Dave, kind of hit between Bentancur and Basuma, they're battling it out to see who can have the worst time at the moment, I think.
Yeah, Bentancur wasn't too bad when he came on today. But he hasn't looked the same since his injury, which he's not going to for a little while. Basuma, since he's been back, has been bloody hopeless. And that's a really nice way of putting it. But Sarr coming in today, I like Sarr, but I don't feel like that Sarr-Basuma combination really works that well. Doesn't gel at all. And, credit to Ange, half-time we were struggling. I was going ballistic for half-time. But he made 2 changes. Bentancur and Højbjerg come on, and it changed the game in effect. Then we got control of that midfield. We kept the ball better. We started passing the ball better. But one thing I do want to bring up is, when are we going to have a conversation about Maddison and his form? Because if he's come back from injury, I don't know if he's scared to play or, he's worried about his body breaking down. But Lo Celso's looked better when he's come on than Maddison has. Maddison just doesn't look like the same player before he got injured. And it worries me, but I don't know if it's because he's part of this leadership group that he's undroppable, but we're getting to a stage now where I'm thinking he's having no influence really on games. His passes are misplaced consistently, and then you've got the Celso coming off the bench who actually looks pretty good. When do we have that conversation?
Well, I think we need to start having it soon, to be honest, because, you can give a player a little bit of time to, come back from injury, to try and get settled back in. But all that James Maddison did today was he was counting the number of fouls that Yates made on him, and then he was telling the referee. And then he nearly fucking punched him in the stomach for absolutely no reason at all. He just seems to be wasting too much of his time on other things that he shouldn't really be bothered about, right? The referee's going to count many fouls he needs to get. Do you know what I mean? He shouldn't be getting into little scraps with people no matter what they're saying to you. Seems like he's getting really frustrated, Harry, on the pitch, and it's showing in his performance as well. Even his passes are going astray, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And in terms of James Maddison, I think that, if I'm honest with you, I've been quite critical of him since he's come back from injury, but I thought he was actually okay today, but just didn't shoot. I thought he got in good positions, really neat and tidy on the ball. When it really mattered, edge of the box and in the box, we're passing backwards. I don't want to sound negative here, but obviously I think the first half, against Forest today was in two kind of halves is the way I like to look at it. First half of it, exclude that, because I thought we were really good, really sharp start, something we've been looking for a long time, even sharper than probably we started against West Ham. But the second part of the half felt like we're going back to last year under Conte in terms of we get in a progressive position and a goal scoring opportunity, but then we go backwards. And Maddison was all this good move, but we go backwards. And I counted at least 5 times where, is a good chance at goal. And, you hit it hard enough, the goalkeeper drops it, and there's the likes of Werner and Son in around the box. It just seemed really simple to me. We're reluctant to shoot. And we've seen goals even this weekend, last week with Liverpool, McAllister against Sheffield United, where that goal doesn't come unless McAllister takes a gambled shot. Højbjerg, whatever you think of him, and I know I've defended him a lot, Dave, as you know, but he hasn't got the all-round package. We all know that. But he comes on, and he's not afraid to shoot. And he does have the diagonal pass in him. And I look at this team and go, we just don't switch the play enough. I think Dave is absolutely spot on. Basuma and Sarr, I wish they did work, but they don't. In a way, they're too similar for me. So that's not working. But again, credit where credit's due to Ange, who changed it. And that's why we sit here discussing a win and not a loss or draw, which seemed like we could be discussing around about half-time, if not before. So, but Maddison, the questions have to be asked. So do they have about Basuma, Kulusevski? So questions need to be asked for a few individuals. I don't like to throw individuals under the bus. I like to give them time. But if you're not, I'm also stand by my point. And I said it with Harry Kane when he had a couple of games that he didn't perform. Regardless of your status and history at the club and the season you've had, if you're not performing, you can't be in the team. And if that's the case against Newcastle, Maddison, Basuma, all dropped.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be the first to hold my hands up here. I thought that Højbjerg was absolutely sensational today. I thought that he came on and he controlled the game well. He didn't, wasn't afraid to have a
moment.
Yeah, and also that free kick. I'm not sure why he decided that it was him that was on free kick duty.
Well, for me, there's 2 moments. There's one where, as you said, the main one, Forest, and he let them back in the game. I think we had Gibbs White on the pitch, or Chris, in particular, Gibbs White, a little bit of calmness that goes in. So he got away with that. There's also one that he put out of play at 5 seconds after. He has that, Dave, we can agree on this, he has his 30 seconds where he's done that, then he panics and he gets all hyped up, then he misplaces the pass, and he's going like that. To everyone, I was like, mate, it's you. You're going like that to everyone. It's you. You just put the ball out of play.
To be fair, I'm like Dave. I'm very anti-Højbjerg most of the time. I think that whole thing, though, it actually started even before Højbjerg. Højbjerg was a moron putting it out, but I think we already had a mad 90 seconds before.
He started it with the when they was running backwards into the box. You don't remember, and he played pass across the box.
Yeah, so that's atrocious pass. You don't play it across your own goal line for a start. You just don't do that.
He started that whole thing, and then 90 seconds later, he passed out of play.
But what I will say is, I thought the whole game, I thought the passing was poor. I'm not going to lie. One thing that whether we won, lost, or drawn this season, I've gone, our passing's been good, and we've created opportunities. I even when we're winning, some of our passing was very questionable. It's basic stuff. You 1-2 touch passes, from 3-5 yards out. So that is a bit disappointing. I think it's better in the second half with the new midfield.
How bad was Kulusevski's passing as well? Like, I remember late on in the game there was a break on, and he was away on the left hand side. Yeah, and Dave Scarlett was pretty much free. And I don't condone betting at all, right? But I had a bet on for Brennan Johnson to score or assist anytime, right? And then when he gets subbed off, it goes on to the next player who happened to be Dane Scarlett. So it's like the last minute of the game, and I'm thinking, just pass it to Scarlett. Like, that's all we need. Tap it in. And it was just, it's just dreadful, man. Like, I thought he was terrible when he came on, Kulusevski.
I think there's got to be, like we said earlier, there's got to be this conversation now where it's our whole midfield area, that whole free position in behind our front three now. It's Maddison and the 2 behind them. Kulusevski's not in any shape or form doing anything. Maddison's not doing anything. Lo Celso's not even getting a look in, yet he looks the most likely to do anything out of them. And then you've got Sarr, Basuma, Bentancur and Højbjerg. They're all not pulling their weight, apart from Højbjerg maybe for 45 minutes today, having an all right game. All the rest of them, it's not even our front line that's been crap at the moment. They're being devoid of any sort of creativity or easy passes. We try to do complex, overcomplicated stuff. We try and play around the box.
Like Johnny in the goal. That's the problem.
Yeah,
You know, we
just
get the ball
bloody.
into the box. Van der Ven proved it today that when you shoot in the box, there's a chance to score. If that would have gone to Son or someone, he'd have tapped it between either foot, laid it off to someone to the side. He would have tapped it between either foot and laid it back to him. You know, nobody just seems to shoot anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We get the
We
ball in the
don't.
box, and it's like we look
It,
to
it's
pass rather than shoot.
it
It's
is a
weird.
difference between that natural goal scorer, I think, or has it been Ange just told them, no, you've got to play this style, you've got to create these opportunities and look for guaranteed spaces. That's a question that's got to be asked as well, and that's about like what we said about the set piece coach earlier. That's about the attacking coaching stuff as well. And I don't know who coaches the attacking stuff for Spurs. It might be Chris Davis, it might be Matt Wells. I don't care. We just need to be more clinical, or at least take a bloody chance, because we was getting like 22, 25 shots earlier in the season. Yeah, I don't care if you have a load of shots. At least you're going to score a couple. Now our shot figures are right down. XG, I hate, but it does say something when half the time we're predicted to get 3.94 for all our hard work, and we come away with 0.9, something like that by the end of it. All of these stats are saying that there is a fundamental weakness throughout the middle of our team where people are just shy and they just try to do over complex stuff. You're not like a Rodri, you're not like a Kevin De Bruyne, you're not a CDM like John Stones. All these top class players, just play. Don't try and be something special. Just play your game, get on with it, and try and score. And
I think the thing is, though, is that Andrew would rather keep the ball moving to be able to pick out an opportunity than waste an opportunity. You know, keep the ball moving. But I also get your point, right? Which kind of moves us on to the next point, is like somebody needs to take a shot. And who did take a shot? Fucking Mickey Van der Ven. And what a strike it was. Dave, just how good is that from him? Like, he's been absolutely sensational. Probably, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, signing of the season for the whole Premier League. He's rock at the back. He's amazing for us, and then he pops up with an absolute thunderbolt.
Oh, mate, he's so good. He's honestly ridiculous. And I remember the talk. I remember the talk before we signed him. It was him or Sober with it. You know, who do we go for, Sober or Van der Ven? And obviously all our Tottenham fans were like, "Oh, get Sober." But no, he's unbelievable. His pace is frightening. But he's so athletic for a guy his size as well. This is another thing where I wish he would score more from corners and things because he's a lump, big lad. But that strike, I'll be honest with you, when he hit it, I was like, my first words were, "Who the fuck was that?" I didn't even know it was him, and I was like, "Jesus Christ, who the fuck was that?" And I looked, I was like, "Oh my God, it's Van der Ven." It was a thunderbolt. Keeper didn't even move, had no chance, and it was great. And what's that about Dragon sitting there? I'm not sold on Dragon.
Johnny likes. So what you've missed is Johnny likes Dragoshin because he's Romanian and so is Johnny. I think is where the connection is. So that's why
I'm not sold on Dragoshin yet. I think he looks a bit sloppy at the moment, but that could be an adjustment. For me, we missed Van der Ven massively when he wasn't in the team. So, especially the way we play, because he's got that pace, that recovery pace that I've never ever seen from a centre half. I've never seen a centre half as quick as him and chews up the ground like he does. That when a player does get in behind, I'm like, that's all right, Van der Ven's there. Because I'm that confident that he's going to get there. But when Dragoshin's in the team, he's not as quick, and it's a worry because of the way we play and balls over the top. Fulham, prime example, cost us dearly.
I think he needs to become a little bit more nasty. Do you know what I mean? Like, not, and I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean take some of what Christian Romero has, and then put it inside of Mickey Van der Ven, because he's from what I see, such a lovely guy. Everyone seems to get along well. There's a lot of laughing, joking, but like there was a time against West Ham where he got bullied a little bit by he caught up with Antonio, and then he kind of like, whether it was a slip or got shoved over. He's a big guy, like as you say, he needs to stand up in corners and push people out the way and really dominate from that aspect.
Shout out Romero as well, actually, because since he's taken up this leadership role, his bookings have just he's done really well.
There was one stupid moment here today when he was playing. I think there was 3 players, and it was Van der Ven, Højbjerg, and Romero all going for it. The other 2 pussied out, so Romero had to take it. And the problem is, I think that if Romero had used his brain a little bit better, he'd have committed the foul earlier because it was very close to being on the edge, if not in the penalty area. So either you've got a dangerous free kick like what Bentancur gave away the other day for a goal that was scored by Palace, or you've then got a penalty which, would have flipped the game right up in the air. And Forest, even though they looked devoid of ideas, it was on the back of Romero being a bit lapse where he should have just let it run through.
Well, we touched upon that with referees, actually, as we're talking about it, Cal. What do you all make of that red card that should have been a red card but wasn't a red card? It was a yellow card. But it's the same challenge, the same motion that Romero made. Chelsea, where he cleared the ball and it's carried on that natural progression. For me, it's a yellow card, but we're going to talk consistency. Where's the consistency?
Yeah.
Oh, there's about as much consistency as fuck all in the league this year. Because how many times have we literally said that we've only had one penalty since September or something like that? The amount of times that there's been calls for goals disallowed, VAR going against us, everything like that. The incident with Maddison and Yates today, if Yates had got the ref to go and have a look at the VAR monitor, then that would have been the most inconsistent bit. But then in the rule book, it says if you tell the ref, look, go and have a look at the VAR, you're meant to get a yellow card for that. So Yates should have got a yellow. Didn't, just got told, look, just calm down, just be quiet, all of that. There's no consistency in the refereeing this year. And how many times has the PMGOL had to come out and apologise for stuff? Match of the day, ripping different bits apart. I don't think it's just us that are getting done on it, but there's no consistency whatsoever. And the refereeing standard this year and the latter half of last year has probably been the worst that I've seen in the Premier League for a long, long time, to be honest.
Yeah, it's awful. And I definitely, I'm not one of these people that wears a tinfoil hat, right? I think that everybody gets mistakes against them, and everybody should just deal with the mistakes that they get, right? No one is getting more or less than anybody else. There's just inconsistency across the board, but that doesn't make any of it right. But
I agree with you, but where I will disagree is Wolves consistently get decisions against them. You can agree with any other team, but if you look at the amount of points they're taken off Wolves unfairly, I know there's a rule in terms you can't block the goalkeeper. It has no impact yesterday on Fabianski getting to the ball because the ball's in the corner, he's in the middle of the goal, rooted to his spot. So therefore, for me, you have to allow the goal. There's nothing to say you can't. It's whether the goalkeeper's going to get to the ball or not. So
is the player stood in front of him, not
if you look at it from a side angle, he's not full on level. So I think that's very harsh on Wolves, and that's denied them a point. Being honest with you, if Wolves got correct decisions this year, I think they'd find themselves quite easily inside the top 6. So we consistently see bad decisions this year, and I don't like this thing that Spurs fans seem to generate, and they've done it all season. If this was Romero, it would be a red card. No, it wouldn't. We've just seen inconsistent decisions. There's no bias against Tottenham, Romero, any other team. I think Wolves have been on the unlucky side of some decisions, but I think they've seen bad. And Ryan Yates absolutely should have seen red. Salah should have seen red in the first fixture of the season against Man United for doing the exact thing, waving the red card. We just haven't seen it. So the referees need to, it doesn't help. I don't think they change something every year because it confuses more referees. But you need to sit down and review what's working and what's not.
Yesterday with the Ben White dive, when he.
Yeah, we don't want to see that in the game. We just don't want to see that.
2 yellows for a dive, and I remember that. It is just inconsistency before, but it's something that needs to be changed in the summer.
What about Man United constantly getting penalties as well? But I think this has been a running theme since Bruno Fernandes came in. I think how many games a year do they get a penalty in? Must be a running tally and a record. At the moment, they've got like 13 penalties this year. Oh no,
they're so irrelevant now that it doesn't matter, does
it? They are irrelevant, but then the problem is whenever you get something come up with inconsistency in refereeing, they always get thrown in the hat and all that somewhere along the line. Someone always has to chip in, some United fan or a pundit, or you'll just get like Roy Keane say something. It's all crap, but it is the whole point though that the inconsistencies this year have been atrocious, and where like H said, the rulings get changed every 5 minutes and all that. You've got either refs with egos, refs who don't want to stand up to players, refs who are so far out of the game, they don't know what's going on. Refs who favour top 6 teams, and maybe one or two decent refs. There's no clarity or consistency throughout it, and I think we're going to have this exact same conversation next year as well. Unless
we could talk about it for bloody hours, couldn't we? Referee, and it's one of them subjects that we're just never gonna all agree on because officiating's been shocking. So it's definitely something that needs to be looked at moving forward.
if Dave, if it was you, would you keep Stockley Park and VAR, or would you get rid of it? Because I don't think it does fuck all for the game now. It takes the fun out of it now.
Obviously, I don't want to drown on about this all night because it's one of them ones that you can talk about for hours. But what I will say is, I would get rid of Stockley Park and I would change VAR to match the way the Europeans do it because it works a lot better in European countries than it does in this country. We decided to do it our own way, and it's gone to shit. I'll be honest. You don't see the same level of mistakes across Europe that you do in England. They're not discussing VAR as much as we are. So, in my opinion, it's just a case of aligning with the rest of Europe, the rest of the football world, and all singing from the same hymn sheet rather than us sitting there saying, no, we know better, we're going to do it better.
Yeah, well said. Right, and the third goal today, going back to the game, because we still haven't finished that yet, was scored by Pedro Porro. Again, a really, really good strike from a defender. And according to Leslie, that becomes he becomes our 15th goal scorer in the league this season. So it just shows, how many goals we're getting from other areas of the pitch. That yes, we are missing certain Harry Kane, but we are getting goals from all over the pitch, which is good to see. Anyway, that kind of wraps us up for today's game. But let's talk some score predictions because, as I said, double game week, so all to play for. And the scores for today, I predicted 3-0. Winnie, Dave, and Callum all predicted 3-1, and they got 3 points for a correct score. And Harry predicted 2-0 Spurs, which me and him get 1 point. So that does this to the leaderboard. With Winnie's 4 points this week, he managed to claw to within 3 points of me at the top of the league. So I'm on 30, he's on 27. Dave's moved up to 21 ahead of Harry, who's on 20, and Callum is catching Harry up on 19.
No,
Harry,
stop.
If it wasn't for the 1 point you got today, then Callum would have been level on points with you. So it's all to play for.
Don't forget the other league we're all in. That everyone's
No, not that either. No.
Well, let's talk about Newcastle, and then before we end, we will talk about FPL.
Hopefully Luke forgets.
Because they've already sent me a screenshot of the FPL league. Right, let's talk Newcastle because we go straight into another game next week away at Newcastle, Harry. The early kickoff on Saturday. The curse of all fixtures in my eyes. What do you make of this? Do you think it's going to be tough? Newcastle are in up and down form this season, aren't they?
They are, let's be real here. We're talking about a depleted Newcastle team in particular defensively without their goalkeeper, without key players. When you look all over the pitch, Lascelles, Trippier, Botman, Pope. There's so many players missing from Newcastle. There's going to be goals in it both ends. They bring a lot going forward still. Whether they have injuries or not. So it will be interesting. Am I looking forward to it? No. Do I think we'll get a result? No. But it is what it is. But no, we go there. We have to believe we can get something. I'd say it now. I'd probably take a point because I think it's harder and there is easier games before the end of the season. But that's we've beaten Forest. We've done what we expected. We can go to James's Park and get a result. We're just going to have to be at our very best, deal with the pressure. Let's be honest with you. The downfall of Stellini, if you like, in that very short period was the hostile atmosphere at James's Park. They came into it in good form. And it was very loud, it was deafening, and we couldn't deal with it. And the game was done in 18 minutes. So, I know how far this Tottenham team's come. We've seen clear evidence of it. Like now, we've equaled our points tally of last season. With still 7 games remaining. That is clear signs of progress for you right there. But I want to see how far that mentality's shifted, and can we deal with the hostile atmosphere? Big test will be Anfield. Big test will be St James's Park. Dave said there about the battering for the end of the season. Fulham was 1. I still think we're due 1 before the end of the season, and I think it could be either Newcastle or Liverpool. But trying to not be negative, we have a chance with the players that Newcastle have got out. We just have to play it right, get the team selection right, impact the game right, and exploit Newcastle defensively. Shoot more crosses, defend set pieces. We have a chance, honestly. We need to go there believing.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Do agree with you, mate. I think that we need to be more ruthless, especially early on in games as well. Dave, what do you think about Newcastle away?
Tough game. I hate playing Newcastle away. It's horrible fixture. And, they are in up and down form, but they're a team that score goals. And that's a worry for me with our leaky defence. So it's going to be an interesting game because we're also a team that concede a lot of goals. So you could be on the a 4-4 here. It's got the signs of one of them sort of games. So I don't know. To be honest, I'm just looking to see where we finish at the end of the season, see how much we've improved, and then kind of go from there. I'm trying to remain positive this season, but we've got a tough 4 weeks ahead of us.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think as far as fixtures go, Callum, this is kind of like the easiest of the fixtures that we've got coming up. And so we really have to make, charge of this. Look, where we sit currently, 4th in the Premier League on goal difference. We've got a game in hand, which happens to be Man City, over Aston Villa. So realistically, top 4 is in our hands, right? We can talk about potentially 5th being good enough, etc., etc. Realistically, finish 4th, you get Champions League football next season. The Newcastle game, is it a must-win?
I would say so. I think we've got to win this because only based on the other fixtures that we've got around us, because Villa have an easier running towards the end of the season, to be honest now. Compared to ours, we've still got to play City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. No matter how many crap results Chelsea get, we're still going to end up doing something stupid against them and all that. They'll get a result against us. We may do City. Arsenal, I'm afraid of at the moment. Liverpool, hit and miss. But Newcastle, we've had 2 crap fixtures there in the last 10 years where we've conceded 11 goals in 2 games and all that. It's ridiculous. And we've got to win it. It falls in our hands. We have to control it, not let Villa pick us apart or rely on we can't rely on Villa mistakes. We need to control it. And if we screw it up, then it's our problem for it. What does annoy me, though, is that it seems that everyone bloody beat Fulham since we lost against them and all that. Everyone got a result against Fulham apart from us. No offence, Barney. But so we are probably better than every team you've played since we played you and all that, and yet we got trounced big time. So it shows that anyone can beat anyone in this poxy league.
Quick yes or no. I want to go round the houses about Newcastle because we've got to wrap up. But Dave, I'll start with you. Do you think that Eddie Howe's time at Newcastle is coming to an end? Do you think he's taking Newcastle in this new era as far as he can?
Absolute rubbish.
I mean, from the highs of last season to this season, it's a big drop. But they have had massive injury problems. They have a really depleted squad. So I think it's coming to that time. I think if they don't get European football this year, he's gone. Because with the money they've got and the backing they've got now, they won't tolerate that from going to the Champions League to nothing at all. But yeah, I wouldn't like to write him off just yet, but I kind of feel like we are getting to that point.
Yeah. No, the reason why I asked is I've got a very good, inkling. I think that I think he's limited in terms of where he can take this Newcastle team. But who do they go for? It wouldn't surprise me if the Saudis don't try and bring in Jose Mourinho or somebody like that to Newcastle to try and add that name to their brand and their empire they're trying to build at Newcastle. But Callum, you're shaking your head and huffing and puffing and blowing the house down. What are you talking about?
Well, one, Mourinho, why the hell would you want his name on anywhere near anyone and all that? If the Saudis did that, then they're delusional and the Geordie fans would kill him. I think literally no matter how much money they pump into the club, they wouldn't want a Mourinho. And 2, I think Eddie Howe's a good manager. If he did leave Newcastle, England have to snap him up. Simple as that, to replace Southgate. But
spot on.
The problem is, though, when you've got someone like Eddie Howe, who has struggled with all these injuries, it's not on him. It's the players that he has got in the squad not pulling their weight to do something else. And I think he's a good manager. I actually wanted him before we got bloody Nuno and all that at Spurs. I would have taken him hands down as someone like that.
He was offered.
Yeah.
He was offered to Celtic, and then he turned it down last minute, and now he's gone to Newcastle. I think that's where he's at. Bournemouth, Celtic, Newcastle role. That's kind of his limits to me. I don't think he's going to win anyone the Premier League.
Great.
Yeah,
Harry,
Wow.
really short and sweet.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
think I think you disrespected Eddie Howe. If I'm totally honest with you, I think what he
Good.
done with Bournemouth.
That was
is-
deliberate.
I don't think it's fair, and I'm going to put for me it's very simple when it comes to Newcastle United, and Dave's already touched on it. Depleted squad, lots of injuries. I think it's what it's expected. Yeah, maybe not at the start of the season, but in terms of Champions League, trying to juggle it all, they're very unlucky. Played very well in it. They absolutely robbed at PSG with the decision. They should be through. We should be talking about Newcastle right now in the Champions League. I think they had a good chance of really progressing in that, and had a really, really tough group as well. So everything that's been against Newcastle this year, Eddie Howe's given debuts like as Lewis Miley, turned out to be a good decision. And the fact for me they're even in a European fight is impressive considering the players they've had out. I think Eddie Howe is the manager. I think he will win titles, whether that be at Newcastle or not. I think being the manager next season. I think for me, next England manager after Gareth Southgate, as Callum said, absolutely. Him and Gary O'Neill for me would be in contention. So I think you owe Eddie Howe an apology, and I think he will pay you back for Saturday, and you regret it. I think he's a top manager, and as Callum said, I really wanted Eddie Howe at Tottenham, and I don't think that's stupid, and I don't regret that whatsoever. I think he's a class manager, and what he done at Bournemouth mustn't be underestimated. Turn them into a tiny club. Let's face it, really tiny club in the Football League, and took them right to the Premier League. So, need I say anymore?
Sweet Harry.
Yeah, fair enough.
As always.
And basically, no, I'm not going to apologise to Eddie Howe because A, he's never going to see this, and B, I couldn't give two shits. Right, let's move on. Score predictions against Newcastle. Harry Scarf, I'm coming to you first.
3-2 Newcastle. We're not getting anything.
Oh God, 3-2 Newcastle. Another Judas.
I planned out all my predictions from now to the end of the season.
Have you? Well,
Yeah, all done.
Dave, I'll come to you next.
3-3 draw.
3-3, I think you said. 3-3 draw.
I don't know. His mic's in his arse, so we might work it out.
Like in a swimming pool, isn't he? Callum.
3-2 Spurs.
Oof. Bold.
3-2 Spurs.
Don't you dare overtake me.
Well,
Wait,
put
hold
you
on.
down the bottom where you belong, H. Put you down.
Who's at the bottom of the FPL league?
All right, and I'm going to go
Not
for
me. Thomas still is.
True.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. We've yet to get winning score prediction, but as soon as we get it, I'll add it to the list as well. Right, really quickly, let's talk about FPL. Bear with me. So, Dave, looks like you are top of the league again. I think last week you were.
I thought it was a huge majority. I thought Dave
Yeah,
was 40 points
Thomas-
behind.
Someone took over for about an hour.
Yeah, Dave's back at the top, 1,823 points. Juan Sancho
It's
is on
actually a bit more than that now, mate, because the other scores have been added. So
1,796. Because according to my app, it still hasn't updated.
No.
Then it comes to me in sixth on 1,731. Oh my god, I'm only 60 points off second. I'm fighting for top four in this league. And then we've got Winnie in 10th on 1,651. So what's that?
He's fallen.
80 points behind me probably now.
Jesus Christ, that's a big drop.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then Harry
Talk
Scarf
about
in
big
14th, 1,510 points.
That's an even bigger drop.
Yeah, but again, I got told I spent 310 points on transfers this season. That just
Well,
came
you're
in.
300
That's
points.
astounding.
Wait, how many points are you behind Dave? Let's have a look.
Too many. All right, you don't need to know.
300,
It's fine.
310 points basically behind Dave. So you'd have been top of the league if you hadn't spent all those points.
Oh, no. Really? Oh, yeah, there you go. Great.
And then Callum is 16th on 1,355, and then Thomas is last.
Wait.
Thomas would join after about half.
You should catch him up, don't worry.
So yeah, big up to Dave, still going. We need to potentially think of a forfeit for Callum for being bottom of the FPL league. But
Well, to be fair, Callum joined 2 weeks after it started.
Don't give an excuse.
so then that goes to Harry then.
Yeah, it will go to Harry.
Yes, yes. Go on. Put it to H. Put it to H.
What you do is you take out, the way to work it out will be how if Callum joined 2 weeks into the season, you work out his average points of the season, which I can do at the end of the season, and then you add it to his total for average weekly points. And if it's more than Harry, then Harry does it before. If it's less, then
I don't think it will be.
Perfect. If you have any thoughts, let us know.
Yeah.
Comment as well.
Be kind.
Yeah. Right. Johnny has said, agree with Harry again, 3-2 to Newcastle. Barney has gone 2-2. Barney got
Did you get mine? I said 3-3.
Yeah, 42 points in FPL this week. Right, that kind of wraps us all up for this week's show. I really do appreciate everyone that's come on from Spurs Kings TV. Thanks for all of you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and everything else. Appreciate everybody else for coming on, this late. It's been, a really good show. But Dave, thanks for coming on again. How can everyone find you?
On Twitter at Park Lane Pod Dave, or on the Park Lane Pod Twitter account. I'll always reply to you if you've got any comments or questions or anything like that, then hit me up.
Perfect. And Callum, how can everyone find you?
Thanks for having me on as always, mate. It's at Callum Stubbs 97 on Twitter, and hopefully going for a Spurs win next weekend.
Amazing, brilliant. And Harry, how can everyone find you?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me once again. Big up to Spurs Kings DB. Do a show there every Friday. Follow me there, Harry Scarf 22, and my channel, Scarfy Spurs Talk. So yeah, go check that out. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. And once again, thank you to our sponsors at Manscaped. If you are interested in what Manscaped have to sell or want to buy anything, head over to manscaped.com and use the code PARKLANE20. That's PARKLANE20 for 20% off plus free shipping. Thank you guys once again for everybody to tune into this show. You guys are what make this show what it is. So really, really appreciate every single one of you. Keep tuning into us. We'll be back Tuesday night to do some more pro clubs. Last week we went unbeaten until our last game. So we won 5 games out of 6. So it's pretty good. The chemistry is flowing and the banter is also good. So head over to us on YouTube, 8 p.m. on Tuesday this week. And then we'll be back 7 p.m. next Sunday for more Park Lane podcast. Apart from that, thank you all very, very much. Have a great week and a massive come on, you Spurs.
Up the Spurs.